video is going to talk a little bit about the structure and the function of the placenta. Now, looking at it kind of basically a pregnancy that's probably at this point probably like 6 to 7 months. The placenta is very visible right here. Okay, notice it's attached to the uterine wall, and it's got the umbilical cord that comes out and connects with the baby. After birth, the umbilical cord's cut, and that's literally what becomes your belly button, was where the umbilical cord attached. And basically, that provides all the nutrients and oxygen and so forth that that the fetus needs to develop. And that umbilical cord is also, and the placenta is also going to take away waste products, carbon dioxide, urea, things like that. So, I mean, basically, it's the fetus's spacesuit in many ways. Now, if you remember back when we talked about implantation, right? The developing trophoblast actually proliferates into the wall of the uterus, um, and eventually, all of that becomes the placenta. Okay, so here is showing much, much, much later. Um, so going into kind of a bit more of a detailed thing, there's two big ideas here. Is one, um, the placenta talks is about the is producing estrogen and progesterone, right? Remember, estrogen was produced by the um, by the ovaries and during during the menstrual cycle, right? Progesterone was created with the corpus luteum also during the menstrual cycle, and eventually, with especially with both of those, is the placenta will take control over it. Right? If you remember back to HCG, the initial placenta develops that, and that helps maintain the corpus luteum, which continues to produce progesterone. Right? This is the initial early bit. Um, by the end of by later on through the development, the placenta is taking that over. Okay, and again, why is that happening? Well, one, prevents menstruation and keeps the wall of the uterus thick, because remember, that's where the placenta is attached. Okay, um, now when you look at kind of the structure, okay, so coming away or to the fetus being how you look at it, we have the umbilical arteries, right? And the arteries, kind of the blue bits here, are taking nutrients to the fetus. The vein is taking waste products such as carbon dioxide, urea, things like that, away from the fetus. Okay, and all that's going to end up into the placenta. Now, there's a whole bunch of words here that we're not going to really worry too much about. There's a couple of things. Um, One, if you look at this, you notice that these arteries and blood vessels split off into smaller capillaries and so forth, right? Arterioles and venules, and then into little capillaries here, okay? Um, and there are these little kind of finger-like projections, which you probably guess the name of them, are villi, right? And anytime you see not villa, villi, and anytime you see villi, we're increasing surface area. So you see a whole bunch of these finger-like projections, which are increasing the surface area. Okay, and then if we look at these smaller projections, like you can see right here, we're going to really zoom into it, and you notice something right away. Well, you will, because I'm going to point it out to you. Is this barrier right here? Okay, so this barrier right here is what we call the placental barrier. And if you notice right here, nutrients are going across into the fetus, and with the carbon dioxide, they're going the other way. Um, but notice here's kind of the red bit here is the blood, and the orange bit here is the maternal blood. Notice the blood doesn't mix, okay? The blood does not mix. And instead, the nutrients diffuse across, right? So you can imagine a high O2 concentration here down to a low O2 concentration here. We get diffusion. Same idea with carbon dioxide in the waste products. So there's not. So the point is the blood's not actually mixing, but the individual nutrients go across. Okay, so that's kind of an important idea there. In terms that kind of helps protect both the fetus and the mother from um, from certain things, but also it allows these ideas to go across and for the nutrients to get to where they need it. Okay. So again, we say that this is a selectively permeable barrier, right? So when we say diffusion here, it's probably more facilitated diffusion rather than just simple diffusion. Um, but again, the idea is that they're separated. Okay. So hope that kind of explains the fetus and the main points here. There's some other notes here that I think I've talked about most of them. But if you have any questions on this, please let me know. Thank you.